Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahushai, Bahasham, Barakaha Godash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and I'm going to start it off in Isaiah chapter 2, verses 11 to 12. The lofty looks of man shall be humbled, and the haughtiness of men shall be bowed down, and Yahweh alone shall be exalted in that day. For the day of Yahweh of hosts shall be upon everyone that is proud and lofty, and upon everyone that is lifted up, and he shall be brought low. And I opened up the video with these verses to preface an article from NBCnews.com titled, Americans are besieged by stress, poll finds, concerns over nuclear war and inflation following 2 years of the situation have Americans more stressed than ever. And as we'll see in this article, the lofty and high and proud looks of people are being brought low, especially in the United States of America, because you Americans are some of the most proud and arrogant people on the face of the earth. And on the flip side, you're also some of the most uninformed and stupidest people on the face of the earth. So it's beautiful to see you Americans' pride and arrogancy being brought down by all these calamities and woes that Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai is beginning to bring to this place. And this is just the beginning. It's only going to get worse from here on out. This is Matthew chapter 24. I'm going to start at verse 6. And this was Yahushai Hamashiach, whom the world ignorantly refers to as so-called Jesus Christ, telling his disciples of some of the end-time signs and prophecies to look for, to know that the age of the rulership of the heathen nations was coming to an end. And the current heathen nation that's ruling is the biblical Edomites, who are known as the so-called white people. And it was prophesied for them to be the last heathens to rule before the kingdom of heaven under the true children of Israel, who are known as the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans today, is established, and to also know that Yahushai Hamashiach's second coming was at hand. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, the war in Ukraine, the war in Yemen, wars in the past like Iraq, the war in Afghanistan, the Syrian civil war, the Libyan civil war, and rumors of war, World War III, nuclear war, a war between Russia and the U.S. and Europe, a war between China and Iran, a war between the state of Israel and Iran, a war between China and Taiwan, and then a war between the state of Israel and Iran, etc., etc. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, race wars, and you can see that racial tensions are brewing out here, especially in the United States, and kingdom against kingdom, the U.S. against Russia, China against Taiwan, the state of Israel against Iran, Russia against Ukraine, and there shall be famines. And I did a video the other day showing the coming disruptions to the global food supply chain, which is going to lead to biblical famines and pestilences. And whatever your thoughts are on the Cragamuffin 1-9 that's been happening over the past couple of years, it's considered a pestilence. And earthquakes in diverse places, and earthquakes are happening daily all across the planet in diverse places. But as it says in verse 8, all these are the beginning of sorrows. It's only going to get worse from here on out. We're living in the last seconds of the last days of the rulership of the heathen nations. We're living in the times of Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai bringing punishment and judgment to this planet, especially to the United States of America, for all the wickedness you people have been committing. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 3. I'm going to start at verse 1. And the header reads, a time for everything. You need to understand the times you're living in. This is the new normal. It's not going back to the good old days. We're coming into the days of judgments and punishments, lamentations, mournings, and woe. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to get and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. Verse 8, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. So there are good times and bad times, but as we saw in Matthew chapter 24, all the lamentations, mournings, and woes and punishments of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai are beginning to come to this planet, the beginning of sorrows. So we're not in good times, we're in the bad times. And we're going to see that clearly from that article on NBCnews.com with these Americans being stressed out for all these things that are beginning to happen to this country. Financial woes coupled with a barrage of horrifying scenes from Ukraine as Russia continues its invasion have pushed a majority of Americans to unprecedented levels of stress, the proud and haughty and lofty looks being brought low, according to a new report from the American Psychological Association. The association's annual Stress in America poll published Thursday found that U.S. adults, already weary from 2 years of the Kragamuffin 1-9 situation, are now overwhelmingly troubled by inflation and the war in Ukraine. According to the results, 87% of those surveyed cited rising costs of everyday items, such as groceries and gas, as a significant source of stress. And we're going through inflation right now, and we're going to go through hyperinflation. Things out here are about to get much more expensive and unaffordable. The average for a gallon of gas in the United States of America sits at around $4.32 to 36 cents. But in some places it's $5, $6. And I saw in Beverly Hills, it was around $7. And a brother sent a video of a 18-wheeler driver in Tennessee, which showed that it cost him $1,052 to fill up his gas tank. The same high percentage said their mental health was greatly affected by what has felt like a constant stream of crises without a break over the last 2 years, the beginning of sorrows, a time to weep and a time to mourn. And 84% said the Russian invasion of Ukraine is terrifying to watch. The shared feeling of stress among so many Americans was startling, said Lynn Bufka, a clinical psychologist and the APA's Associate Chief for Practice Transformation. While many people can feel stress, she said, they often cite different political or social reasons as the source. We don't usually see 80% of people telling us that a particular stressor is stressful for that many individuals, Bufka said. The poll surveyed a nationally representative group of 3,012 U.S. adults. It was initially conducted in mid-February, just ahead of the 2-year anniversary of the start of the situation. At that time, respondents were overwhelmingly concerned about finances and particularly stressed about inflation. 65% said they were stressed about money and the economy, the highest percentage recorded since 2015. Then Russia invaded Ukraine. Americans were already in an overwhelmed and depleted place, said Lindsay McKernan, an associate professor of psychiatry and behavioral sciences at Vanderbilt University Medical Center in Nashville, Tennessee. The invasion, she said, was a new threat to our safety. In order to get the most accurate picture of stress in America, the researchers set out to do a second poll with questions specific to Russia and Ukraine. The second round of polling, conducted March 1st through the 3rd, included 2,051 adults. 80% of the respondents said they were concerned about potential retaliation from Russia, either through cyber attacks or nuclear threats, and 69% said they feared they were witnessing the beginning stages of what could be World War III. And you've been hearing a lot about cyber attacks and EMPs in the mainstream media. And what did you have Klaus Schwab say? That after the Kragamuffin 19, we have to worry about a cyber, Pandemic, and World War III will take place and go nuclear. As it says in Revelation chapter 9, verse 12, one woe or destruction is past, and behold, two woes more come hereafter, World War II, which is past, and World War III, which is quickly coming. And that's going to take place after the Charagma in Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 to 17 is mandatorily implemented, that RFID/NFC, MICROCHIPIMPLANT. And what did you just have President Joe Biden come and talk about? The U.S. creating a digital dollar, a CBDC, a central bank digital currency. And you've got a lot of these other nations creating CBDCs. And these digital currencies are just a stepping stone towards the Charagma. Beyond pinpointing the sources of stress for Americans, the poll also delved into how that stress has impacted their physical health. Nearly a quarter of the respondents said they tried to cope with the situation, stress, by drinking more alcohol. And since this thing with the Kragamuffin 19 began around 2 years ago, and even before then, in the United States of America, you saw an uptick in alcohol and drug abuse and even suicides. It's gotten so bad to where you've got Joe Biden creating programs to give out free crack pipes to drug addicts. And 58% had undesired weight fluctuations, either gaining or losing more weight than they'd wanted. So that's it with this article. But back in Isaiah chapter 2, verses 11 to 12, the lofty looks of man shall be humbled, and the haughtiness of men shall be bowed down, and Yahweh alone shall be exalted in that day. For the day of Yahweh of hosts shall be upon everyone that is proud and lofty, and upon everyone that is lifted up, and he shall be brought low. And we're seeing the beginnings of these proud and lofty people being brought low, with these Americans going through all this stress, with all these situations going on. And again, these are just the beginning of sorrows. It's going to get much worse from here on out. But now I'm going to close it out in Isaiah chapter 24, verses 7 to 11. The new wine mourneth, the vine languisheth, all the merry-hearted do sigh. A growing number of Americans are experiencing high levels of stress. The mirth of the tabret ceaseth, the noise of them that rejoice endeth, the joy of the harp ceaseth. People stressed over inflation, the Kragamuffin 19 situation, the war in Ukraine, talks of nuclear war, World War III. They shall not drink wine with a song. Strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it. Back in that article. Beyond pinpointing the sources of stress for Americans, the poll also delved into how that stress impacted their physical health. Nearly a quarter of the respondents said they tried to cope with the situation stress by drinking more alcohol. They shall not drink wine with a song. Strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it. Hey, drinking their sorrows away. The city of confusion is broken down, and the United States of America is known as Babylon the Great in the scriptures, the virgin daughter of Babylon, Mystery Babylon, and Babylon in the Hebrew is Babel, which means confusion. So the city of the United States of America is broken down. Every house is shut up that no man may come in. And what do we see happen a lot during the Kragamuffin 19 situation? A lot of people losing their jobs and closing down their businesses. And with inflation and hyperinflation coming, more people are going to have to close down their businesses and more people are going to lose their jobs. There is a crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. And that wine goes into a crying for understanding of what's going on out here. People are looking for answers and starting to question the mainstream narrative. But the only true answers you're going to find are from the prophets of the Most High, the men of the Lord, chiefly through GMS or Great Millstone out on the highways and byways preaching this word, as well as putting up video epistles like this, breaking down the scriptures with 144% truth and letting you people know what times you're living in and what's to come. So it would behoove you sincere Akim and Akwath to be drinking from these rivers of living waters while you still can, before that spigot gets turned off, because we know that a famine of the word is coming, where the prophets are no longer going to be on the highways and byways, and our video epistles are no longer going to be online. And for 2/3 of the nation of Israel who still refuse to come back to their power, Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, or hear the words of his prophets, when that famine of the word hits and these calamities of Jacob's trouble really kick off, hey, you're going to have to get it how you live in that day, and the getting's not going to be good. So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. As we can clearly see, we're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.